All right, welcome to my daily review. You're looking at a daily chart of the Nasdaq, and we can see that the Nasdaq has been on a great run here in 2023. Started in January, 16% move, then retraced half of that move. Then it rebounded, then kind of went choppy, but broke out on May 10th, which is a date that we stepped on the gas here and had a nice run up until June 16th, pulled back to the 21, then ran again up until July 19th, I believe. Yeah. And then that day right there, I got to zoom in on it. Had this inverted hammer candle, which was, very negative bearish candle, and then followed up the next day with another one. But it then rallied back up to the 14,370 level, couldn't get above the 14,446. And in August, it's been down almost every day. Had one up day yesterday, but you can see it's very close to the 50 simple moving average. And that's a place where, we would hope it would get support. We'll have to wait and see. Today it was down 110 points or 0.79% and closed at 13,884. I think it's just a little bit of seasonality. After this long run, you got to expect people to take profits. It's not going to go up all the time. And right now, August, September, a little seasonality issue. I expect to see something like this. I hope it's not a 50% retracement, because this is a heck of a move here from 10.9 to 14.4. You're looking at a 2,000 point retracement. One thing I do want to point out here, and I normally don't look at the weekly on the index because I'm more of a shorter term person, looking at the daily fluctuations of the index, but it has formed a cup with a little bit of a handle. I think it needs a more of a handle here, but it did trade down to its 10-week line today. You say, what's the difference between a 50 SMA and a 10-week line? Well, there is a little bit of difference. It did trade down to there and popped a little bit, came off the lows today. So just something to make note of. I'm not saying that it's going to bounce and start ripping higher again. I think it needs a little more time, but it is at its 10-week line and just 1%. What is it? 1.1% above its 50 simple moving average. So that's 13,726 today, and it's been going up like 20 points a day. Anyway, I just wanted to point that out. This is the importance of knowing market direction. You can see how important it is when we have a tailwinds from the index. It's real easy to make money here, and typically the first year of a new uptrend is where the majority of the easier money is made. And we're still in our first year of this new uptrend, and I believe this is just a pullback. We just don't know how low it's going to go or how long this is going to last. And if anybody tells you they do, run away quickly, because nobody knows. Nobody knows. Some of the weak stocks that are dragging it down, Apple obviously is the largest stock, and it's really been weak. This is not relative strength. I have people telling me Apple's showing this is not relative strength. It's way below its 50. Yeah, it was up 0.5% today, but this is a big drag on the index. Apple, if you want to see relative strength, it's Meta. Yeah, it sold off today. It was down 1%. Big deal. It's still right here at its 10 EMA. That doesn't look like much of a sell-off since the Nasdaq started showing weakness. This does. Microsoft too. After the Microsoft earnings, it's just been on a steady downtrend, and it takes a lot of selling. You can see these big pink volume bars, a lot of selling to move these big stocks here. I'm wondering if Warren Buffett's selling Apple right here. Somebody big is moving this stock lower. Anyway, I don't own Apple, but it is a big part of the indexes. They have a massive share buyback program, and Buffett holds a bunch of it. So some whale is selling that thing. I don't know who, but I'm hoping that it, find some traction here pretty soon and just levels off. This is Tesla, another one of these mega cap tech companies that were just on a roll for the most part of the year, and now after this most recent earnings report fell off here on July 20th, and now it's trading below. It sliced its 50 here, and this looks weak as well. So a lot of these are looking bad. Google is doing better. It's like Meta. It's above the 10. This looks really good to me here. if the market would just stabilize, these things could start to run again. Amazon looks better. Remember, these are data center stocks, and those are the ones that look good. And the one that's really bothering me now is NVIDIA, because it looks like it wants to join Apple and Microsoft and Tesla, but it's still above the 50, and it's hanging right there, just a tick below the 21. So these are the big seven or whatever they call them, the Magnificent Seven, whatever. I have not been into drugs in a long time. I haven't talked much about drugs, but today they were definitely in vogue, and I got to go back. This is Eli Lilly. Which had a great move today, but I do have to go back, and this is the reason why I haven't really been mentioning them much. It's because while the index has been rallying, this thing's been going sideways. All April, May, June, July, and now August showing weakness. Today, a little bit of a bounce, but the drug stocks have just been hammered since the FTC got involved with the AMGN Horizon deal, and also they interfered with the Seagen takeover. Anyway, I was going to show you Eli Lilly. They reported earnings today. Just a great response, up 14, nearly 15%. Massive volume. Their weight loss drug is, just huge demand for that. And congrats to the longs. I want to mention NVO because Novo Nordisk, they had a data report that their drug would cause 20% less risk of a heart attack, and that's one of the big killers. So that's a big news item. They don't report until August 10th, which is Thursday, and I suspect that their Ozempic and Wegovy drugs are in heavy demand, much like Eli Lilly's Mounjaro. This might not be done here. It's a nice breakout, and I just wanted to show, a lot of people talk about the First of all, I had a friend, thank goodness I had a friend who told me to buy NVO back in the late 90s when I was buying Cisco and trading eBay and Qualcomm and some microsystems. But I just wanted to show you how this thing has performed versus the giant, mega cap drug stocks, and Johnson & Johnson, Lilly, Merck, Pfizer doesn't even hold a candle to these guys. This thing's up 5,000% in that time, in this century. Just a monster of a stock, and I've just parked it in a retirement fund, and it served me well, and I don't see why it would stop right now. So just wanted to point that out. I know these others probably pay a bigger dividend. I know Merck does. Johnson & Johnson's a dividend aristocrat, but as for appreciation and performance, Novo Nordisk, and my friend who works for one of those New York firms said back in the 90s, his thesis was that China was eating better and they're going to be obese like the Americans and need diabetic drugs. It's a diabetic franchise, and the weight loss just came in recently, their weight loss drugs. And the weight loss drugs, I believe, is going to be over 100 billion industry, and they're going to capture a lot of it along with Eli Lilly in the next 10 years. And that's a good one, in a good place to park some money if you want to look at the monthly here. Yeah, that's just a beast. And the weekly, even during the COVID crash, this thing just held in there nicely. This is it right here, this little double bottom. So anyway, enough with Novo Nordisk. Congrats to the longs there. That was really fantastic news this morning. I love hearing good news like that. AMGN, this is a Dow component. It's been up the last 3 sessions. What sell off here in August? Amgen's been doing well, so congrats to the longs there. And one other one I wanted to show was the Viking one. I'd been watching this for a long time. They had a nice compound, but it bounced today on that news from Novo Nordisk because they have a drug that's going to be they're going to try to get it approved next year. It's an oral pill, and I'm sure either Lilly or Novo will take these guys off the market and just swallow the competition. Anyway, let's go to energy. That's enough of the drugs. Energy, this is one that I was going to put on my watch list this week, but I didn't because it had earnings. And you could see why. This nice cup with handle pattern, beautiful. This little shake out here to the 21, and it popped today. So congrats to the longs. Nice, nearly a 10% move. But the way earnings have been going, I just couldn't bring myself to put any stocks on the watch list with earnings this week. We saw what happened with Datadog and Spotify, and just a lot of stocks getting hammered after a good earnings report like ACLS. I'm going to include all the energy and oil and gas stocks together today because it's just in the energy group. This is CIVI, exploration stock, US exploration stock, and this one made a new high today. That one looks good. If you want to look at the weekly, you can see it's just consolidating in this base here. And if you're patient, that looks like a pretty decent stock there. What other ones? Oh, Tidewater. This is an oil and gas field services. This one reported earnings, came down below the 21, shook a bunch of people out, then went up 1.5%. So, like I say, these earnings moves are just wild and crazy. PR, this is one that's on our watch list. I like the setup here. It had a nice bottom at 902 and a double bottom at 894. It's building on the right side of the base, looking pretty strong. I believe it made a 52-week high today. Yeah, you can see this consolidation pattern. Not a real fast mover. Oil and gas stocks are not going to move like NVDA. They're just a different animal, that's all. And the solar one is NXT. This is my IPO stock for the day. Just, it's looking pretty strong, for an IPO in the solar space, which is not good. You could see their industry group is really weak, but it found support at its 50 today and popped a little bit there. So yeah, the 39.86 was the 50, and it popped up 3% from there. So that one looks decent for an IPO. I'm going to go to the retail. Surprisingly, the retail is hanging in there. Deckers made a new high today, just slowly grinding higher, pulling back to its 50 every now and again. Just a thing of beauty. Deckers looks really strong. ONON, this one's on our watch list. This one has earnings. It probably will not do anything until the earnings report, but it's set up in a nice base there and just kind of trading sideways. I look for a shakeout before, if it breaks out. ELF to me is a buy. This one, and you can do what you want. That's not a recommendation. It's just I want to buy it. It's got this little wedge here after making this this high on its earnings report. It's pulled back a little bit, and I'm looking for it to institutions don't buy all at once, and when they come back in, I expect them to take out that high of that day. What was it, 137 something, 137.48? So we'll see. The market is kind of icky right now. That's my technological term. Celsius is another one of these stocks. I talk about this every day. It's like you have to hold it through earnings because it pops on earnings, trades sideways for 3 months. Now it's popping 14%. Hopefully this time it'll start running and start moving those averages higher and higher, but we'll see. It's at 164 after hours. So congrats to the longs. And believe it or not, Walmart made a new high today. Walmart, big retailer there. So congrats to the Walmart longs who are collecting their dividends. The home builders look good. Builder, they had a strong report. It spiked on earnings and pulled back immediately to the 10, and it just wants to hug close to that 10, and that's just its character. It just quietly and slowly grinds higher, so we're not going to say anything. GRBK, this is one of a little more wild trader of the home builders, sliced its 50, and now it's trying to regain the 50. And you can see sometimes once what was once support can be resistance, so it needs to get through that 50 right there. And if it does, it'll probably make a new high. This is Pulte Homes made a new high today, so these ones are looking good. DR Horton is the one I like. You can see it's pulled back a little bit in August with the headwinds from the market, but still, finding support at the 21, and that one looks fine as well. Let me see. Oh, the banks, yeah, Moody's. See, you get these downgrades, you get the Fitch and you get the Moody's. When the market starts going down, you get this bad news stuff, and it starts to snowball a little bit. But we knew back in March when Silicon Valley Bank and those banks collapse, that there was trouble. So now they come out, what is it, 5 months later, 5 months later, nothing like, old news. But anyway, JP Morgan, strong stock, and it came back to its 21 today and found support. This is Wells Fargo. Maybe it'll come back to its 50, but you can see this one's setting up nicely. And Bank of America, the big banks are going to survive this, Moody's shenanigans. This one pulled back to its 21 and now closed above it. Some after hours action. I got to go through this RIVN. I don't know. It was a better than expected, not losing as much money as expected, but it's at the 21 here, and just have to wait and see how that one shakes out. Twilio surprised me. It actually has they have some activists in their company. I think they're making some good changes there. They actually had earnings and a revenue beat, so that stock is up, almost 7% after hours. Upstart, what do? We don't know. We don't care. When this thing, when it rains, it pours, down nearly 18% after hours. So it had a nice run breaking out of that, stage 1 base, and now it's starting to pull back right near its 10-week line there. 40, little more than $45, a little below it after hours. We'll see what happens tomorrow. What else do I have? Oh, I think that's it for today. Yeah. Except for I have one more thing in honor of the great Steve Jobs. Supermicro reported after hours. The implied move was 14%, which was going to take it either, to 400 or 300. And it went to the downside. The report was fine. They raised guidance by like 60 cents. And then they beat revenue guidance, but they guided the next quarter in line so they can play their game and, beat. He'll probably be raising guidance within about, 8 weeks or so before the next report. And that's kind of the same playbook they've been playing for a while. So some people were asking me if they think it comes back to the 50, boy, if it did, that would be a gift, but we'll see. It's down nearly 13% after hours, so it might get to that 14% implied move tomorrow. If you own this from 90, and it went to 350, now back to 300, big deal, right? That large Livermore ghost number of 300, it's probably going to play around there for a while, but to me, it's doing nothing wrong. It's doing what it always does. Report good numbers and guide to an area where they can, raise guidance down the road. So their margins were shrinking a little bit, which I thought they would expand, but so that's a little bit of a concern. But a lot of people came in late to the party. When you're late to the party, and when you're tardy to the party, you get punished. You got to get there early. And so those people who bought, up here above 300, they're going to get shaken out. And those people who haven't bought and were patiently waiting now will have a chance to get in. I'm not recommending anything. I'm just making a statement that if you missed out, this stock, it's finally giving you a chance to get in, and a trip to the 50 is usually a gift. So, typical playbook for a Supermicro. Their business is good, and it's at 300 after hours, 303. And maybe it'll just wallow along there for a while, but if you follow this stock, that's not going to happen. This one's going to move. And anyway, that's it for me. We never give up.